Hi all. So welcome to day 20 in my attachment style series that I am running until the end of the year. So I think that's like 91 or 92 days worth. I'm not sure, but it's a decent level. So if you started off as an insecure attachment style, by the time if you follow through this and you follow the reflections and you follow the guidance that I give you, by the end of this year you should be more into the secure bracket, or certainly moving well into it, if not already in it. So yeah, I did start these 90 days with like a proper plan of what I was going to talk about each day or post about if you're on my Facebook page. Um, and to be fair, I think I'm winging it most days, to be honest, but it does seem to be working. It does seem to be working. So, and every day I'm seeing more and more of you commenting and getting in touch with me and telling me you're enjoying these. So that's really nice for me to hear, bearing in mind that I started this because, I'm in quite a lot of pain every day because I'm disabled and I'm largely bedridden. So it was really to try and keep myself busy, I guess, and help people if I could. So it's nice to hear that it's actually doing something and people are actually enjoying these videos. Anyway, today being day 20, I have no idea what was on my original plan. I cannot find my notes. So today I thought I would talk about emotional intimacy and what feels safe for each attachment style. So I know when I don't break it into individual attachment styles, it becomes a longer video, but it seems to work better. I don't know why. Anyway, um, so I was sat here thinking today, it's funny how we often think that the hardest part of relationships is the arguments, but in truth, it's what comes after that, when things are calm, that really tests our attachment systems. So, because that's when intimacy starts to creep back in, isn't it? And for many of us, that's the moment our body says, "Oh, hold up, careful here. Don't get too close. You might get hurt again." So, today I want to talk about this, about emotional intimacy and what it really means and how each attachment style experiences it differently. And more importantly, how you can start to make closeness feel safe again. So, I want to sort of set the stage here with what emotional intimacy really is. And when we talk about intimacy, most people think of sex or affection or time together. And yes, those are part of it, but emotional intimacy is far deeper than that. It's that feeling that you can be seen, like fully and authentically and messily, like all of you, every part of you is seen, and know that you won't be judged or abandoned or controlled in order to suppress it. It's the felt sense of, I can bring my real self into this space and be safe here. It's safe here. And here's what's really interesting with this. The moment we start feeling that kind of closeness, it lights up all of our old wiring in our brain because our nervous system learned what intimacy meant very early on in life. For some of us, closeness meant comfort and warmth. For others, it meant unpredictability and criticism or even fear. So, as adults, we don't just react to our partner, we react to the memories stored in our body about what closeness used to mean. So, when we're talking about the anxious experience, anxious attachers use intimacy as reassurance. So, let's start there because I've always started with the anxious attacher. I think because I was one myself, so it seems like the easiest one for me to talk about. So, for the anxious person, intimacy is everything, absolutely everything. It's the moment they finally feel safe because closeness to an anxious attacher means love, and distance feels like danger. They want to merge, to feel connected, to know they're wanted. So when intimacy deepens, whether that's through sex or emotional sharing or even spending a weekend together, the anxious person feels a rush of connection. But as soon as it fades or changes, the fear sets in. So they might start wondering, did I say something wrong? Are they pulling away? Are they not interested in me anymore? Have they got someone else? They might start over communicating, trying to fix the distance before it even begins. And there's that rush of back to back text messages or phone calls or whatever. And here's the heartbreak of it, the real heartbreak. They're not trying to control the other person. That is not the that is not the goal at all for an anxious attacher. They're trying to regulate their own nervous system in the only way they know how. They've been taught that love disappears when they're not perfect or pleasing others. So intimacy becomes their proof of safety. Healing begins when they learn this, when they realize this. And it can take quite a long time to realize this as an anxious attacher, because to not be like that, it feels so unusual, so wrong. We like to think, oh, well, we're very emotional creatures, and we like to express ourselves, and that's what it is. But part of that is our fear of the danger of being abandoned. So healing begins when we learn this lesson. Safety isn't found in someone's response, it's built in your own body. So when you can sit in the quiet, when you can trust the connection without checking it every 5 minutes, that's when you're moving towards secure attachment. And to give you a real example of this, when I was very deeply in my anxious attachment stage, I would need constant communication. I would need if I was involved in a relationship, anything like that, I would be wanting my messages responded to almost immediately. Like why are they ignoring me? Why it takes 20 seconds to send a text message, as everyone says. So why am I not worth that 20 seconds? Have I done something? Are they not interested in me anymore? Now, now I can go a day or two. I send what I want to send, and they can either respond or they can't, or they don't. It's no skin off my nose, basically. I've said what I wanted to say. They can either respond or they can't. They'll get back to me when they're ready to. But I don't panic over it and I don't overanalyze it. It's just okay, right? Well, they're obviously busy doing something, whatever. I don't know. I don't care. I've got other things to do. So now, when we move into the dismissive avoidant experience, this is like intimacy as overexposure. So when we're looking at the dismissive avoidant attacher, for avoidance, intimacy feels like exposure. It's not that they don't want love, it's that being seen too deeply feels like losing control. Dismissive avoidants love their control. Many avoidants grew up in environments where emotions weren't safe. Maybe they were shamed for crying or taught to just get on with it. We're all too busy to deal with this shit. You just got to get on with it and do your part. And we're not interested in the emotional intimacy sides of things. So they learned that closeness equals intrusion and independence equals safety, essentially. So when a partner starts asking them for vulnerability, what are you feeling? How are you thinking? Can we talk about this? The avoidance nervous system goes into threat mode. So they might withdraw, they might minimize or intellectualize the problem just to get back to the safety of it. And dismissive avoidants are terrible for this. They will either completely ignore the question altogether and pretend you didn't say anything, disappear, they'll ghost, or they will minimize it. Well, it's nothing. Why do we need to talk about this? You're making a big deal out of nothing. Or they'll intellectualize. They'll try and use logic. They'll try and be clever about it. Like, yeah, they'll try and use logic to get out of the deeper thing that you're asking them for. But here's what's underneath that. They're afraid of being engulfed by you. They're afraid that if they open up, they'll lose themselves. They'll lose who they feel they are. So healing for a dismissive avoidance starts when they realize that vulnerability doesn't equal weakness. It's a controlled choice. You can still have control. You can still maintain your control and feel safe, but this is a controlled choice. You can share what you feel and still maintain your boundaries. True independence is being able to stay connected without disappearing. So dismissive avoidants tend to um, view independence as having these massive walls up. Nobody can get through them, and they do what they want when they want and stuff like that. So, but that's not what true independence is. You're hiding. You're not independent. You're scared. So true independence is being able to stay connected without disappearing, without those walls needing to be quite so thick and quite so high. So the mantra here for a dismissive avoidant is, I can be open and still be free. That's secure attachment. So then when we look at the fearful avoidant experience, this is the intimacy as a push-pull battle, basically, because they are both anxious and avoidant in one role. So for the fearful avoidant, also sometimes called disorganized, intimacy is both the dream and the fear at the same time. They want that closeness more than anything in the world, but as soon as they feel it, their body tenses, waiting for it to go wrong. They're waiting for the shoe to drop. They might open up beautifully one moment, be really open and emotional and engaging, and then panic and push the person away the next. It's not game playing. Everybody thinks it is. It's not game playing. It's nervous system chaos. It's complete nervous system chaos. Their brain associates love with danger, and it's hard to know which part to listen to, the longing or the fear. So when intimacy starts to deepen, they might think, this feels too good to be true. This feels too good to be true. And unconsciously, they sabotage it before it can hurt them. For them, healing means pacing intimacy, not forcing closeness, but allowing it to grow slowly, safely in small steps. So, learning that love doesn't have to be all or nothing, it can be gentle, steady, earned through trust and consistency. So for a fearful avoidant, their affirmation may end up being, it's safe to love slowly. And that's the real key here, because most fearful avoidants will jump into new relationships and everything will be boom, 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 boom. We're moving really quickly here. And then, whoa, hold on. This is too much. This is way too much for me. I can't do this. And they pull back. So it's safe to love slowly. Safety is built, it's not tested. So, for the secure experience of this, intimacy is seen as shared security. So, for a secure attacher, intimacy feels natural. They can share deeply, listen fully, and handle moments of distance without panic. As I mentioned earlier on, a year ago, if I sent a text message to somebody and they didn't reply for a day, I would assume that we were over. I would assume that was it, we're done, blah, blah, blah. And I would have gone into full panic mode long before I'd assumed that. And I would have been boom, 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 message after message after message, trying to get the reassurance that I needed from them. Now I'll send one message. Sometimes, depending on the conversation, I might send a second one. But I'll send one message, and they can either respond to that or they don't. And that's up to them. I'm not there to force them to respond to me if they don't want to. So it's being able to handle those moments of distance without panicking. What makes a secure person secure isn't that they've never been hurt, it's that they've learned how to repair and reconnect without fear. So they approach vulnerability with curiosity, not with avoidance. They don't equate space with rejection or closeness with control. They understand that love expands when both people feel safe being themselves. That's the heart of intimacy. Two people who can stay grounded even when emotions are running high. So, what is the path towards secure intimacy? And this is the question I get a lot. How do I get from my insecure one to the secure one as quickly as possible? Um, Well, sometimes it kind of depends. I mean, you can do it quickly, but I would say that most of the time it takes about 3 months. You can do it in 21 days. You can rewire your neural pathways in about 21 days if you're really dedicated to it and you really throw yourself into it. But it's hard work to do it that way. So, give yourself time. You need to be consistent with it. That's the main thing. So, how do you start building that? How do you go from craving closeness or fearing it to actually feeling safe in it? And here's what I've learned, both personally and professionally. So, number one, we want to name what happens in your body. Everything we feel somewhere physically as well, not just emotionally or mentally, but physically as well. So, notice when your chest tightens, when you want to chase or withdraw. That's your nervous system talking. You can't heal what you can't feel. You can't heal what you don't know. You can't fix what you don't know. So we want to feel our emotions. We want to recognize when we're feeling them. So it may be that you don't realize that you're feeling an emotion, but suddenly you have this really tight feeling in your chest. Recognize that for what it is. It's your security system going, oh, hold on, something doesn't feel right here. I'm not sure I'm feeling particularly comfortable. So number two, communicate your needs early and calmly. So I need a bit of reassurance, or I need some quiet to regulate. Naming your needs doesn't make you needy, it makes you secure. So, number three, I would say, is find rituals of connection. It could be a good night message, or a morning check in, or a shared reflection time. Consistency tells the body, I can relax here. Now, for me, I like to wake up to good morning messages. I feel like I feel like for me, I like to do that because for me, when I love somebody, they're the first thing on my mind when I wake up and the last thing before I go to sleep, and I like them to know that. So now I don't feel bad if they don't do that for me. I just think, oh well, it would have been nice, but maybe they've got something else going on. So and I speak to a couple relatively regularly, and they have a weekly reflection time, they call it, where they check in with each other once a week. They sit down, they it's quite ritualistic for them, actually. I mean, it was a suggestion that I made to them uh, over a year ago now, and I didn't really think they would take it on board, and they've really taken it to heart. So once a week, they get a Chinese or an Indian takeaway. They sit on the floor in their living room with a bottle of wine, and they put on a movie or they play a card game. And whilst they're doing this, they're talking, they're reflecting on their week, they're reflecting on how they're both feeling at the moment. It's quite nice to hear. They're the only couple I know who've actually taken that on board and done it, but apparently it's like their equivalent of a weekly date night now. So that's quite nice to hear. Um, but yeah, consistency, whatever you do, you want to be consistent with it. Consistency tells the body, I can relax here, basically. And where are we? Number four, challenge your old story about love. Maybe you grew up believing love had to hurt, or that being needed, being wanted, made you weak. Reframe it. Love is safety, not sacrifice at the end of the day. Because secure intimacy isn't built through intensity, it's built through trust, consistency, and choice. Always choice. So, because I love these reflections and I do them at the end of every video, I'm going to do another one today. So, I'll leave you with this question today, and I would love to hear your responses to this, if you feel like sharing them with me. So, today's question: when does intimacy feel safe for you? And when does it start to feel too much? Like, what happens in your body when someone gets close to you? And I'm not talking about too close, but close generally. So when does intimacy feel safe, and when does it feel like too much for you? And what happens in your body? What do you feel inside your body physically when someone gets too close? Do you soften or do you tense? And can you start today by just noticing? Just noticing. That is your task for today. Just notice. And when you do notice, by letting yourself take one breath of safety before you react to that, one moment of awareness before the old pattern returns, basically. So, yeah. So, just to reiterate that, because I kind of I don't think I made it very clear. What happens in your body when someone gets close? What does intimacy feel, or sorry, when does intimacy feel safe for you? And when does it start to feel too much? And what happens in your body when someone gets close? Do you soften or do you tense? And can you start today just by noticing, by letting yourself take one breath of safety before reacting, one moment of awareness before the old pattern returns, basically, because that's where healing begins, not in the big moments of passion, but in the small moments where you let love feel safe again. So, if this resonated with you, take a moment to save it or share it or message me or whatever you like. Someone you love might need this reminder too. I'm going to guess that's probably the case because a lot of us are walking around with insecure attachment styles. And remember, secure love isn't found in someone else. You cannot find that in someone else. It's built inside you, one safe connection at a time. Okay, that's me done for the day. Take care, all. Take care. Bye.